Hello, everybody. My name is Alan, and it's that time once again. Let's talk metal. Tonight, I need to do a little catching up and give some thank yous because a couple of people in the YouTube metal community have been kind enough to send me some VCLT material, and definitely want to give them their due and say thank you here on camera and show off the cool things that they sent me. When I first started, paying attention to the heavy metal streamers on YouTube and such, I was really impressed at the whole concept of VCLT. I had not really heard of something like that before. And I just want to take a moment and say I think it's very, very cool that people are, willing to send things to other people, just for free so they can check something out, or they hear that they're looking for something and they've got an extra copy. That's really, really nice of folks to engage with other folks that way and, just kind of, share the love, pay it forward, however you want to phrase it. But I think it's really neat that people are willing to do that. I come from a background where I did a lot of like flea market stuff as a kid, really having to grind out, and sell and horse trade a lot, where nothing was free and everyone fought over, every nickel and every dime, and everybody was, kind of trying to angle shoot and find a way to get other people. So it's really refreshing to see that in the VCLT circles, folks are just like, yeah, I don't want to sell this. Yeah, I could trade it into the used store. I just send it to you for free. Cost a few bucks shipping. So what? So yeah, I think it's a really cool concept, and I've picked up a couple of things lately that I'll be sending out to some folks as well. Without further ado, let's go ahead and see what's been in the mail lately. Uh, there's two boxes that I've received. So the first one was from Marty over on the Marty Worm channel. So Marty, thank you very much. Very cool. Marty sent me a few things that I want to show off here. These first two won't be a surprise to anybody who has listened to Marty much. Everyone knows Marty's a huge Halloween fan, and he's also a huge advocate of the Andy Darris era of Halloween, which a lot of people are not as into. For most folks, Halloween is all about the early material, the EP up to the end of Keeper, the Seven Keys, Part 2. And after that, Kai left the band, Kiss stayed around for one okay album and one weird album, like a million. And, then Andy came in and the band kind of went, a little different direction. But that's where a lot of people sort of, phased out. And Marty had as well, but then in recent years, he got back into the band and really came to enjoy the Andy era. And so he's been sort of singing the praises of the Darris era albums and getting people to go back and re-examine those. And to make sure that I do the same, he sent me a couple of the early ones. So Master of the Rings, this is the first one that features Andy Darris. It's from around 94, I believe, maybe slightly later. And then Time of the Oath, which was the second one to feature Andy Darris. Now, the deal on these is I had both these albums. I bought them both when they came out back in the day. I sold or traded them both away somewhere probably around 2005, 2006, in that time frame. I had done a big collection purge at the time. I just didn't play them very much. Stuff had to be thinned out, so these went. I will readily admit, at the time, I never really got into the Darris albums too much. I could always say that, yeah, there are some good songs on these, but I'll admit, it bugged me that Kisk was no longer in the band. He is probably, arguably, my favorite heavy metal vocalist of all time. And so, yeah, it was really a hard pill to swallow that there was a new guy singing. And also, at the time, mid and late 90s, let's face it, most of us were a lot more focused on more extreme forms of metal. Death metal had already peaked and there was tons of it out there. Black metal was making huge waves at the time. So listening to this kind of happy, silly German power metal with pumpkin art all over it, and this new vocalist who wasn't the guy I really liked from before, yeah, I never really gave it its due. And so Better Than Raw was the last one I got from them. And at that point, I was just like, I'm done with this for now. So Marty's encouraging me to check these back out. And I have played them both. And the thing that's really funny is again, I haven't played either of these albums in 15 years or so, and playing them, it instantly clicks. I can remember almost every song. I know the words, I know the melodies. They really have stuck with me a heck of a lot better than I would have expected. And there are a lot of good songs. With Master of the Rings, they've got some very good ones with Soul Survivor, Where the Ring Goes. The album gets off to a good start. Why is also pretty good. There are some duds along the way, too. This album loses a lot of momentum on the song Mr. Ego, which is way too long and way too boring. And so then they kind of got to reboot. They have a couple of, again, the sillier songs with Perfect Gentleman and The Game Is On. This is very much in the Halloween idiom, though. They always had that lighthearted, streak in their music. And there's some other good ones towards the end as well, with Secret Alibi and Still We Go. So yeah, really impressive, like just how well I remembered the songs. As soon as I heard it, I could hum and whistle along with it. Same is true with Time of the Oath, and this one has some great tracks on it. We Burn, Steel, Tormentor, Wake Up the Mountain Power. It starts off again really, really strong. And again, it has some missteps. You should never name a song anything my mama don't like. I don't care if your band has a reputation for being goofy. That song is not going to be good, and you shouldn't record it or put it on your album or write it in the first place. But hey, a couple of duds on an album are okay. But yeah, the bottom line is, Andy Darris is never going to be my favorite vocalist. He's not a bad singer at all, and he's just not going to be at the top of my list. But it's not because he replaced Michael Kiske or anything like that. Halloween has been his band for decades now, and he's done well by them. The band has made their own way and continued to be a good force in heavy metal. So props to him. I have nothing against Andy Darris, and thanks to Marty for getting me to go back and revisit some of these. I have ordered a couple more of the Darris albums that I never have owned, so we'll be talking about those in a future box and opening collection update kind of video, I'm sure. Marty sent another thing in the box with it, which is also very cool. On one of the Friday night streams that he and I have been doing with other folks, we've launched the sort of official title for it of Heavy Metallurgy, which we kind of liked because a lot of people were commenting that they were learning a lot and hearing about a lot of bands and records for the first time. So yeah, kind of the metallurgy tag made sense that people are kind of studying it and getting into it, which is really cool. You can check us out most Friday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern time over on the Marty Worm YouTube channel. And during one of those streams, somehow the topic of Scorpions came up, and this made a very offhand comment. Like, oh yeah, I like most of their classic albums, except Love Drive. It was the one album I've just never got around to checking out. And bless his heart, Marty actually thought of that. It's like, well, I can fix that. And so opened up the box and found a copy of Love Drive in it. This was one of those albums I used to always see in the bargain bin cassette table at Camelot Records and just never got around to picking up. And it's a funny thing because one day you wake up and you realize it's not there to pick up anymore because nobody's making cassettes, so there is no cassette sale table. And by the way, Camelot Music, sold out and shut down and changed its name, decades ago. Time goes by faster than you realize sometimes. But yeah, it was the one Scorpions album of the classic 70s and 80s records that I just never had got around to hearing. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let's check it out. It's famous for a few things. It's the first one they did without Uli John Roth since their debut. Michael Schenker came back into the band for just a very brief period of time, long enough to contribute to about half the songs that are on here, but he didn't stick around. And so this also ended up being the first album that featured Matthias Jabs, who was their lead guitarist throughout all their classic 80s albums. So it's kind of funny. There's technically 3 different guitarists on here, but my understanding is that Schenker and Jobs were not in the band at the same time, so they contribute to different tracks. And you can kind of tell with the different styles of guitar work. This album was also famous for having another one of the rather tacky, tasteless Scorpions covers originally, where the man is sitting next to the woman and his hand is stuck to her breast with bubble gum. It's kind of weird. This is, the Censored for America cover, which just had the big blue scorpion on it, which is perfectly fine. The band picture for the inner sleeve, Gotta wonder what this guy's thinking. Like, hey, you're on a new label, Mercury Records. We want to try to break you guys big. Let's show up for our big photo shoot, and let's wear bib overalls without a shirt under it because I was out baling hay before coming to the photo shoot and the press conference. Some things in this world just don't make any sense. Regardless, Love Drive, haven't played this. This is a really good Scorpions album. I'm very impressed with it. It's very clearly also the transition album between their 1970s style on Virgin Killer, Taken by Force, and Trance, and the albums that came in the 80s, like Blackout and Animal Magnetism. You can hear some of these songs still have that 70s lean to them, but some of them are starting to sound more like the classic Scorpions mega stadium rock hits that would dominate through the 1980s. Really fun album. There's not a bad song on it. I just never had got around to picking it up. So Marty, thank you very much. It's really cool to finally hear this album and hear that it's a really strong album in their catalog. That I didn't overlook it because it was bad or anything like that. But no, it's quality stuff. So again, thanks to Marty for sending some cool items. Now, I've got one more person to thank. There's another box arrived, and this one was from Aaron, the metal theologian, who's got an amazing long-running YouTube channel, crazy collection. That guy features more cool records in one video than I own in my entire house. If somehow you've never checked out his stuff, it's definitely worth a watch. And the backstory to this was on one of his recent videos, he was showing off cool records, chatting as always, and he was drinking out of a coffee mug. And I'm looking at the coffee mug. I'm just like, I know that logo. So we kind of get up close because my eyesight is not good. I've been called many things in my life. Eagle eye has never been one of them. So I get up close to the screen, just like, holy moly, that's a Graven Image coffee mug. Just like that can't be real. I mean, he kind of turns it, and sure enough, it's got the band's little slogan, "People in Hell Want Ice Water," on the other side of the mug. And so, just for fun, I left a comment, in the video, and I just said, I'm totally losing it over the Graven Image coffee mug, with a smiley face, because he wasn't talking about Graven Image. He wasn't drawing any attention to the mug. I just happened to notice it while listening, and so it's like, I know that band. I like that band. I can't believe they have a coffee mug. That just really, it was one of those fun little things that kind of blew my mind. Well, fast forward a little ways, and a box shows up from Aaron, and I open it up, and ta-da! Graven Image coffee mug. People in Hell Want Ice Water. The deal with this is that, well, I'll get to the backstory in a second, because there's a couple other things in the box too. This is now one of my most favorite possessions. It falls somewhere in between my son and my pets. So, Aaron, thank you. This is just amazing that they made a coffee mug for Graven Image. Some of you may have already seen me drinking beer out of this thing, again, on some of the Friday night heavy metallurgy streams. But yeah, there was a few other random kind of swag items in the box too. Bless his heart, Aaron also had a Graven Image, what do they call these things? Tumblers? Something like that. Again, with the slogan, and this with the band's full old school logo on it, which is very distinctive. There was Graven Image giant stickers, this is getting applied to probably one of my record LP boxes, or maybe one of my 45 boxes. I haven't decided which yet. But wait, there was more. There was the Graven Image t-shirt with kind of the logo over the pocket there. So yeah, crazy. Graven Image t-shirt. Where do you find this stuff? And last but certainly not least, every bit as cool as the rest of it, the Graven Image baseball jersey with, again, the sort of newer style logo on the front, and then the classic on the back with, again, People on the Hill Want Ice Water in the back. New favorite shirt. I would probably wear this every day if I could get away with it. I can't get away with it. This blew my mind. I was just totally befuddled. So I had to get back in touch with him first to say thank you profusely. But also, I was like, I have to ask, where in the world did you find Graven Image merchandise? I checked, and there was nothing on Bandcamp or any place that I could come across. And yeah, it turned out, several years ago when they had done an anthology reissue, Aaron had gotten in touch with the band, and in getting, some copies of their CD, they had also included, some of this kind of, free swag stuff, which he thought was, kind of neat, but didn't necessarily have a use for all of it. And so when I geeked out over the coffee mug, it was just like, I think I know how to make this guy happy. And damn if he didn't make me awfully happy. I will be wearing that Graven Image jersey quite a bit in the future. So, Aaron, thank you so much. That's one of the coolest things I've ever been sent by someone. Now, for the backstory, because a lot of you are probably wondering who the hell was Graven Image? Well, Graven Image goes back a ways. The band is kind of the brainchild of a guy named Rob Griffin, and he started out in a band named Tyranny, which I've talked about in one of my previous videos going over some of the obscure US heavy metal singles, and I'll include a link to that video in case you've missed it. But the Tyranny single came out back in '79, and it's a pretty good one. It's, again, very early for US heavy metal, but it's got a really good heavy sound to it. Tyranny didn't do any other material, but Rob resurfaced about 5 years later in a band called Graven Image. And they released a 12-inch single, had 2 songs on it, that was called People in Hell Want Ice Water. It's this one. So again, you can't miss it because the logo takes up like 2/3 of the cover and has a pretty cool looking logo. But yeah, it's just a 12-inch single. It's 2 songs on it. You've got No Rest and Warn the Children. Came originally with 2 inserts. There's a lyric insert and also a mail order insert that you can see in there. And both songs are really good. I really like both of them. This is one of those records that's pretty hard to come by these days for the original. Thankfully, it's been reissued, so you can certainly get a copy pretty easily for a very reasonable price. The original copies are a bit of a bitch to track down and can get kind of expensive. I got this one quite a while back, so I didn't have to donate organs in order to pay for it or anything. As a side note, it can also be a record that's hard to find in good condition. A lot of the old copies I've seen have really extensive ring wear on the cover because it's just black, so it shows ring wear really easily. But I was really lucky and got a copy that's really, really clean. But yeah, both songs on it are really, really good. And the band did get a little more material put out as well. Jump forward about 3 years, and they also made a 3-track picture disc. And so here you can see the different logo with more just kind of the classic Gothic looking font. This one has a new take on Warn the Children and No Rest, and also includes a song called The House. And all 3 of these are pretty good. Hey, there's a tank on the picture disc. You can't go wrong with a tank picture on your picture disc. So yeah, this one shows up a lot more readily than the 12-inch single does. So this one is one of those kind of semi-rare mid-price things, but yeah, you can track this one down. But again, thankfully, the band has done an anthology collection. They first did it around 2006 as a release on CD Baby. And this is where the People in Hell Still Want Ice Water came in, which I thought was a very clever way to do the anthology title. Makes it clear that it's not the same as the original, but plays on the name really, really nicely. I really like that. And this recorded had, some extra demos and unreleased stuff as well that went along with it. Again, this one came out around 2006, I want to say, but then the anthology got, sort of a bigger, more official release sometime around 2015, 2016 maybe. That is when Aaron had gotten in contact with the band or the label about getting copies. And that's when they had made all this crazy, sort of, merchandise that, they sent Aaron a couple of samples of, and Aaron passed on to me. I got to say, it's pretty wild that the label went all out like this, and it was coming up with tumblers and stickers and different styles of T-shirts for the anthology release. Graven Image is one of those cult underground things. The music's pretty good. It's got a good gallopy U.S. power metal sound to it, but it's a pretty unknown quantity as well. Before we wrap this up, let's go ahead and play just a little clip so you can check out what Graven Image sounded like. Let's get this set over here. And yeah, let's check out just a little bit of No Rest from the 84. All right, there you go. A little bit of Graven Images, No Rest. So again, I think you can see that, yeah, fans of 80s US power metal with a good gallop to it, this is right up your alley. It's one of those bands that, as far as I know, they didn't release anything else, and I don't think they've done any new material in recent years, but the anthology is definitely worth checking out if that clip got your attention right there, or if you liked the Tyranny single that I have covered before. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Again, Marty and Aaron, thank you very much. It was very sweet of you to send that stuff and check it out. Really cool to hear the Scorpions album and revisit the Andy era Halloween. And Aaron, this Graven Image stuff just blows my mind. That's the coolest thing I've come across in quite some time. So as we wrap this up, I would just like to encourage anybody watching to, participate in the VCLT stuff. If there is a content creator or, just someone you talk with in the chat regularly on some of the live streams or whatnot, if you've got some extra used CDs or, random items sitting around that you don't really have a use for or don't want, hey, talk to folks, get a mailing address, spend a few bucks, put it in the mail. You can really make somebody's day when they have something unexpected show up and they open it and they've got, a cool surprise there. Who doesn't like getting a cool, fun, heavy metal surprise in the mail? Now, let's talk a little VCLT in the comments down below. What's the coolest thing that someone's ever sent you or that, kind of showed up out of the blue and you weren't expecting that way? Let me know down below and we'll keep talking. For now, though, I want to stop talking and move on for the evening. So until next time, everybody take care. And as always, keep banging your heads.